There are mornings when the heart wakes up tired before the body even leaves the bed. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. No loud disaster, no visible storm. Yet something inside feels heavy. The mind begins racing before the sun even rises. Bills, responsibilities, regrets, the fear of failing again, the silent pressure of trying to stay strong when your soul feels exhausted. Some people carry wounds nobody knows about. They smile in public while privately fighting battles that leave them emotionally drained. Some are grieving, some are disappointed in themselves, some are terrified about the future, and some are simply tired of pretending they are okay. Maybe that is you today. Maybe you are listening to this while trying to hold yourself together, trying to believe God still sees you, trying to believe your life still has purpose after all the delays, heartbreaks, failures, and unanswered prayers. But before this day asks anything from you, before fear speaks, before anxiety takes control of your thoughts, there is one truth heaven wants you to remember. God has not abandoned you. You're still here because His mercy carried you through the night. The fact that you open your eyes this morning is not meaningless. The breath in your lungs is proof that God is not finished with your story. And sometimes we forget how powerful that truth really is. We become so focused on what's missing that we stop noticing what is still being sustained by grace. We look at closed doors and forget the doors God already opened. We focus on what hurt us and forget the countless times God protected us from things we never even saw. There were moments you thought you would completely break, moments you thought the pain would destroy you, moments when anxiety whispered that you would never recover. But somehow, God carried you through all of it. You survived days you thought would crush you. You made it through seasons that looked impossible. And even though you still have scars, you are standing here today because the hand of God never left your life. That is why gratitude is spiritual warfare. Because the enemy wants you trapped in discouragement. He wants you to believe your situation is hopeless. He wants you to wake up every morning already defeated. But gratitude changes the atmosphere of the soul. When you stop and remember the goodness of God, fear begins losing its power. When you remember how many prayers He already answered, your faith starts breathing again. When you remember that God stayed faithful in your darkest seasons, hope slowly rises back to life. And maybe today, hope is exactly what your heart needs most. Not fake positivity, not pretending life is easy. Real hope. The kind that survives storms, the kind that still believes even after disappointment, the kind that says, God is still with me even here. Because some of the strongest faith is built in painful places. Anyone can worship when life feels easy, but there is something powerful about the person who still lifts their eyes toward heaven while carrying pain nobody else understands. Maybe your heart has been tired lately. Maybe you feel emotionally drained from fighting silent battles. Maybe you are exhausted from waiting for answers that still have not come. But hear this clearly. God sees every hidden tear. He hears the prayers you whispered when nobody else was around. He understands the weight you have been carrying, and He is closer to you right now than you realize. You are not forgotten. People may misunderstand you. People may leave. People may fail you, but God remains faithful. Even when your faith feels weak, even when your prayers feel messy, even when you don't have the strength to explain what you're feeling, God stays. And there are moments when His greatest work happens quietly, not through dramatic miracles, not through instant breakthroughs, but through the slow healing of a wounded soul. Little by little, He restores peace. Little by little, He rebuilds strength. Little by little, He teaches your heart how to breathe again after disappointment. That process may feel invisible sometimes, but invisible doesn't mean God is absent. Seeds grow underground before anyone sees fruit. And some of you are in a season where God is growing something deep inside your spirit: stronger faith, greater endurance, deeper wisdom, and a dependence on Him that circumstances cannot shake. The truth is, many of us spend too much time trying to control everything. We want answers immediately. We want clarity now. We want God to explain every delay and every painful chapter. But faith means trusting God even when you can't see the full picture. Because God sees what you cannot. He sees the doors that would have destroyed you if they had opened too early. He sees the relationships that needed to end. He sees the battles you never noticed because His hand protected you quietly behind the scenes. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes delay is preparation. Sometimes the closed door is actually mercy. And one day you'll look back and realize God was saving you from things you were praying to keep. That's why you can't judge your future based on your current emotions. Feelings change, situations change, but God does not. His faithfulness is not temporary. His mercy does not expire. His love for you is not based on whether you feel spiritually strong today. Even now, while you're listening to this, God is working in ways you can't fully see. He's restoring what exhaustion tried to steal. He's healing places inside you that nobody else understands. He's strengthening you for battles you haven't faced yet. And He's reminding your soul that you don't have to carry everything alone. Some of you have been carrying pressure God never asked you to carry. The pressure to always appear strong. The pressure to have every answer. The pressure to fix everything yourself. But you were never meant to live disconnected from God's strength. You were created to depend on Him. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, because human strength eventually runs out. People become tired. Emotions become unstable. Circumstances become overwhelming. But the strength of God never fails. When your mind feels overwhelmed, He gives peace. When your heart feels weak, He gives strength. When confusion surrounds you, He gives wisdom. When fear attacks your thoughts, He reminds you that He is still in control. And maybe today, you need to stop fighting every battle in your own strength. Maybe you need to breathe again. Maybe you need to release the anxiety you have been holding inside. Maybe you need to stop replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind and start trusting that God is already ahead of you. Because while you are worrying about tomorrow, God is already there. He already knows what you will face. He already prepared grace for the battles ahead. He already has solutions you cannot yet see. Nothing catches God by surprise. Not your pain, not your confusion, not your tears, not your future. And that means you can rest, not because life is perfect, but because God is faithful. Some of you listening right now are emotionally exhausted. You have smiled while secretly breaking inside. You have prayed while fighting doubt. You have tried to stay hopeful while carrying disappointment that nobody else fully understands. But God is not ashamed of your weakness. He does not turn away from broken people. In fact, Scripture shows us again and again that God moves closest to the brokenhearted. He draws near to those who feel weak. He comforts those who are grieving. He strengthens those who feel empty. So stop believing the lie that you must hide your pain from God. Bring Him your real emotions. Bring Him your fears. Bring Him your confusion. Bring Him the parts of yourself you try to hide from everyone else. Because healing begins where honesty begins. And maybe the reason your soul has felt so tired is because you have been trying to carry alone what God has been asking you to surrender. You do not have to carry every burden by yourself anymore. Lay it before God. The fear, the heartbreak, the uncertainty, the exhaustion, the future you cannot control. Lay it all down. And trust that the same God who carried you before will carry you again. Because this season will not destroy you. This chapter is not the end of your story. God is still writing your life. And even if things feel delayed, heaven has not forgotten you. There are blessings still being prepared. There are prayers still being answered. There are doors God can open in one moment that human effort could never open in years. Do not lose hope just because the process feels long. Some miracles take time because God is preparing both the blessing and the person receiving it. One day, what currently confuses you will make sense. One day, you will understand why certain prayers were delayed. One day, you will see how God used even painful seasons to shape your character, deepen your faith, and redirect your path. But until then, keep trusting Him. Even when emotions fluctuate, even when answers feel delayed, even when life feels uncertain, keep praying, keep believing, keep surrendering your heart to God again and again. Because faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is choosing to trust God in the middle of the struggle. And today, that faith can rise again inside you. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because God is still good. He was good in your past, He is good in your present, and He will still be good in your future. So as you move through this day, do not move in fear. Move in peace. Walk knowing that God goes before you. Walk knowing His hand is still on your life. Walk knowing you are protected, loved, and seen by heaven itself. And when anxiety tries to return, remember His faithfulness. When discouragement whispers, remember His promises. When fear tells you nothing will change, remember how many times God already made a way before. You are not abandoned. You are not defeated. You are not too broken for God to restore. The story is not over. Your heart will heal. Your strength will return. Your peace will rise again. And one day, the very pain that almost broke you will become the testimony that reminds someone else not to give up. So hold on. Hold on to faith. Hold on to hope. Hold on to the truth that God is still working even when you can't see it yet. Because the God who carried you this far will not fail you now. And as this day begins, may peace settle over your mind. May strength rise inside your spirit. May fear lose its grip on your heart. And may you walk forward remembering this unshakable truth. You are still held in the goodness of God.